Let's cross over to her now to find out the latest on what to expect on the schedule today. I believe that President Thabo Mbeki will be there as well. Good morning to you, Ayanda.
Yes, Leanne, a very good morning to you and welcome. We are expecting former head of state, President Thabo Mbeki, to present an AU report on illicit financial flow. Let me give you a little bit of context there, Leanne. Back in 2011, at the 4th Conference of African Ministers of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, it was warranted that some sort of panel be created to facilitate an investigation into the illicit financial flow out of Africa. And so that panel did come together, and then in March in 2014 they had completed their investigation and they had submitted their report with recommendations. We then saw President Thabo Mbeki present that AU report early this year. It was on the 31st of January at the 24th Ordinary Session of the African Union. That particular document will also be the subject of discussion today. What is it when we talk about the illicit financial flow in Africa or out of Africa? We're discussing, Leanne, money that has been illegally earned, that has been illegally transferred or illegally utilized and deliberately kept under the radar so that its origins are not detected. The dangers of that and the consequences, Leanne, as you may know, is that we will continue to see underdevelopment in Africa. We will depend on aid, that some of our debt won't be paid because a large amount of money, and we're talking billions, almost 50 billion annually, are lost to various countries as they are illegally transferred to your safe havens. They are not declared when it comes to tax. So it is quite a serious bone of contention, and it is the subject of debate today. Now, I'm joined by our reporter, Algin St. Pierre, who will be discussing this further. He's been keeping an eye on this particular subject, and he'll also keep us abreast with what's happening today and what we can expect. Algin, a very good morning to you. Talk us through the program, please.
Well, good morning, Ayanda. So what we expect to happen today is that the former president, Thabo Mbeki, will obviously deliver that report. And of course, there'll be a debate around the member states as to how do they cope with these issues that have been listed in this report. The report details some 15 recommendations of findings, and one of those is around the issue of political will, because you need to understand that there needs to be political will if this is to work. If the African member states are to make sure that the money that they need, as Thabo Mbeki puts it in this report, for clinics and developmental goals and so forth, if you want to make sure that that money does not flow out of the country and into these tax havens that have been listed, what is it that you need to put in place, and what role do political players have to play when it comes to making sure that the tax policies that are in place are strict enough to ensure that the money that these multinational companies make actually ensure that South Africa develops, or Africa rather.
I'm glad that you actually spoke about those multinationals, because it leads me to the next question. The onus is on them as well to make sure that they don't abuse their power, that they don't abuse their international footprint, and that they don't also abuse some of the loopholes in tax regulations, because sometimes they escape through those. But the onus, as you've mentioned, is also on governments on the African continent and those further afield. As we know that some further afield do have legislation that prevents, an open and transparent banking process, and that results in those tax havens that we see. But let's now speak about the need for the African continent to attract investment from those multinationals who may also be perpetrators. Speak to us about that.
And that's the double whammy that Africa faces at the moment, is that you want to really you want to improve or get as much foreign direct investment into this continent. As we always say, that Africa is a developing continent, and most multinational companies have obviously been looking at Africa to broaden their business prospects and so forth. And now you ask the question whether when these African countries now all of a sudden come with these strict tax policies, will that then deter the foreign direct investment? And chances are that that could be a possibility. Another issue, for instance, that I expect would be discussed today is the issue around African countries themselves who are looking to becoming tax havens themselves. Is that a viable, is that an option that these African states should be looking at?
We'll have to leave it there, at least for now. But those are just some of the issues, thank you so much, Algin, that we will be looking at throughout the course of the morning. Do stay with us. Another update coming up in no time. Leanne, it's back to you.